What's up, y'all? In this video, I'll go over a unique method of getting a microtiming effect on the Dirtywave M8. Basically, you can set a sample to play in forward loop mode, and then push the start point all the way towards the end of the sample to delay triggering of it in the sequence. So let's check it out. For this example, I'll use this hi-hat sample. This technique should work with most samples, but it does require there to be a little bit of empty space or a low volume tail or fade out at the end of the sample. So if you're using samples that are cropped very tight on the waveform, you might not get good results. Here's a visual explanation of how this works. First, I'll add a loop endpoint to the end of the sample. This will make it so the sample will play as though it had forward loop mode on. And then I'll adjust the start point to be all the way at the end of the sample. So even though the start is at the end, it still sounds the same as before, but now I can pull the start point back from the end and get a delayed trigger of the note. And as I move it closer to the end, it gets closer to what it would sound like on the grid. And this is how it would be delayed when adding notes to the sequence. So to set this up, we need to adjust some parameters on the instrument page. But first I'll put together a very simple pattern, which is helpful for hearing how the sound is delayed as you adjust the parameters. So in this phrase, I'll use the quick fill shortcut to add notes to every other step for the hi-hat instrument. With my cursor in the left column, I'll hold Shift and then press Option twice. Then I'll hold Option and press Left twice. I'll also set up another phrase with a kick and snare so we can hear how the timing of the hi-hats work in relation to instruments that are on the grid. Basic, but it works for our purpose. So back on the hi-hat instrument page, I need to set the play mode to forward loop. But this causes the sample to loop endlessly until the next note trigger. So I also need to adjust the envelope on the mod page to have the sample fade out after it triggers. These settings may vary depending on the sample you're using, but generally I use an attack hold decay envelope targeting the volume with a pretty tight hold like 0.2 or 0.3 and a decay just under 1.0. So now we've got it sounding like it did when the loop mode was off. Back on the instrument screen, I'll set the start point of the sample to FF, which means the sample will start playing at the end. And since the play mode is set to forward loop, it'll sound the same as when the start point was at the beginning at 0.0. But now I can pull the start point back towards the beginning and the hi-hat will have a delayed trigger, which sounds like adjusting the microtiming of it. Although if you pull it too far back, then the envelope will close before the sound plays, so it may sound low or cut off. That example was using the start parameter on the instrument screen to adjust the timing of all the triggers, but you can also use the start effect command in the phrase to have specific notes trigger later than others. This works well for ghost notes, so let's set this up on the kick. First, I need to set the loop mode to forward loop. And then I need to add an envelope. But now, instead of changing the start point on the instrument screen, I'll change it in the phrase. And then a bonus tip, if you highlight a parameter in the instrument screen and press Edit, and then move to the phrase screen and press Edit on an empty effect cell, then the effect version of the parameter you selected will be added as an effect command. So here it'll add the start command. So I want to add a ghost kick right before the kick on step 8. So I'll add a note to step 7 and put the start command in the same row. And then I'll adjust the start command from the maximum value, FF, down until I like the sound of it. And I'll do the same with another note on step 2. So that's how to use the forward loop microtiming technique. It's actually quite versatile and pretty easy to set up, and I think it gives you more control than using the delay command because there are way more start parameter values that you can change as opposed to ticks per step. The only thing to be mindful of is adjusting the envelope to make sure the sample doesn't continue to trigger in the loop. Well, that does it for this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.